What's the safest one-man CQB method to enter a room by yourself, and do you have a 50-50 chance of going left or going right? As a cop, you're going to enter rooms by yourself in tactical situations. In fact, you may clear an entire apartment by yourself because you're the first one on scene, you have an open door, and there's blood all over the place, like I did the other day. When you have a team entering a structure to conduct a clearing, you're attempting to simultaneously clear threat areas, which is impossible to do. Only one person can fit through the threshold at a time, and because of that, there will be a delay in coverage, which is fine as long as the standard isn't present. When the standard is present, one or both officers get shot. The advantage goes to the person who is waiting to shoot you because he knows who his target is, where his target is, and has no problem firing indiscriminately. Since action beats reaction, and on average it takes 1.05 to 1.3 seconds on the fast end under ideal conditions to see something, make a decision, react to it, and conduct a ready up drill, your chances of even being available to deliver those rounds is mostly based on luck. Here's a perfect example of that, where even in this situation, the suspect still gets off rounds and shoots 2 officers before he is ultimately DOA. Initially, the gun is even down to his side, and he still has time to bring the gun up and begin firing. How could this happen? Because it takes you a period of time to cycle through that process I just explained. I'd like to take a few seconds to interrupt this video and point out that after I posted my tactical analysis of the rally, YouTube came after this channel for whatever reason. So if you'd like to help this channel grow, you can do that by liking, subscribing, commenting, and doing absolutely anything to feed the algorithm down below.
Police department search warrant! Police department search warrant! This is 3050 South Dillon. Police department search warrant! Police department search warrant!
While simultaneously clearing left and right as you enter with another person isn't possible, it's definitely out of the question when you're by yourself. The most commonly seen and culturally approved method is to go left or right quickly, then turn the other direction when you don't see a threat.
Penetration step, power step, drive nothing, and then we're opening up our hips. And you notice I'm keeping my feet in motion. I already know that this wall's here. There's nothing for my attention to be here. Quick snapshot, ensure my back is covered, and then we start to systematically, logically think about how we would lick the rest of this up.
But maybe the best option is to make yourself a smaller target and therefore harder to be hit. And if you're not hit, you're more likely to be standing on your feet and available to return fire or egress. There isn't a person on this planet that can enter a room facing someone who's ready to shoot or giving up their back to a shooter as they enter and get off rounds before the shooter. The only possible way anyone could come close is by removing the need to make observations, the need to make a determination on shoot no shoot, and conduct a ready up drill. Meaning I enter the room knowing where the target is, knowing it's a shoot target, basically on my sights, and therefore I can engage as soon as I break the threshold and get a sight picture. In that way, the time between the shooter's rounds and my rounds is less, but certainly not before. If we can't identify and agree on greater likelihoods of risk in order to determine what may be the best option, then certainly this video is pointless. And if we're honest, 99.5% of you will never need this information anyways, and the other 0.5% are cops. The first is that if you enter a room with the shooter in a hard corner, either to the right or to the left, and that shooter is the standard, meaning he's waiting to shoot, the shooter gets off rounds before you, and that can be easily tested. If you want to get inside your own head and see how this works, watch my debunking CQB part 1 video, and in addition to that drill, have the person playing the bad guy in the room either say bang or pull the trigger on an airsoft gun, and watch how you completely abandon searching for a weapon and move straight to engaging. That can be at best a clear indication to your brain that you can now skip over the clearly identified part, which is now obvious from incoming gunfire, and begin shooting. Next, we also need to agree that no cover or concealment is much worse than some level of cover or concealment. If I'm trailing a shooter down the street in my patrol vehicle or through an open parking lot, I wouldn't abandon my vehicle until the last opportunity as long as I could keep a safe distance. Even though your vehicle isn't the greatest piece of cover or concealment, it's certainly better than just hoping he doesn't shoot at you after finding yourself out of breath and 50 yards away from your car standing in the open. While your time to target won't change regardless if you make entry or peek the corner, if we're aligning ourselves with some basic fundamental combat principles, that being exposure, there is inherently a less chance of being hit if you peek the corner. There are two other possible negative consequences for making entry. The first being that if there is a shooter waiting for you, you've likely lost your ability to egress, or at least it has become extremely difficult for you to do so. The second possibility is that by entering a room and advancing either direction, you're opening yourself up to more angles that you can't possibly cover. This angle might come from dead space or an adjoining room. To the right of where you're looking, I have the door that I have been making entry into. I'm gonna go to the right, and just about 4 steps or 3 steps to the right, as I continue to move, I'm opening myself up to this angle, this larger room, this adjacent door that's attached to this room. And therefore, instead of covering to the right and then coming back directly behind me, now I have to actually finish scanning this room, but then also do a scan of this area that I can see from the threshold before I actually get to what's behind me. This isn't really part of this video, but I'm gonna talk about it while I'm here. This isn't really a true center fed room, and it's not really a true corner fed room either, but there is enough dead space here that we still have to check what's here. If I was conducting my pan across and I saw that the wall was short to the left, I would either enter and go to the left, or I would peek to the left first. And the reason is because I've seen most of this, and I know that it's short. It's going to take me less time to process what's here versus if I go to the right and we're looking at about 30 feet of room and actual dead space that I would consider within the primary scan, which means it's going to take me longer realistically to process what's here and then get back and see what's behind me. Also, if there is somebody here, there's probably an increased likelihood if I go to the right that they will be able to hit me from a marksmanship perspective just because of the proximity between them and me. When people say you have a 50-50 chance either going left or going right, that's a 50-50 chance the shooter will be directly in front of you versus the shooter having your back. Not a 50-50 chance of you winning in that scenario. Seeing as you have a 0% chance of shooting first, I would also give yourself a 0% chance of winning since the likelihood of actually being hit is increased due to overexposure. While peeking one direction doesn't decrease the time it would take you to get to the target, making yourself less of a target probably gives yourself more than a 0 chance of still being alive. Remember, the goal here is to get a snapshot and also not get shot. You have to balance how much time you spend peeking with the time you would have to spend here to process and engage. You would likely have to make up your mind before you move, otherwise you might get caught in the land of uncertainty and indecision. Understand that neither way is wrong, but you are sacrificing something to gain something in return. If you made it to the end of this video, you might have more information than you did previously, and you get to decide what you like and what you don't like. Make your own decisions, think for yourself, tap the photo to subscribe, and if you want to be a builder of things, feed the algorithm down below so I can increase my ability to provide you with higher levels of quality content.